Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Choujin X Chapter 20. When we last left our heroes, we focused largely on Azuma, who disobeyed Yamato Mori's orders to go rescue Tokio on his own, not wanting to be left behind. And we got a little bit into his mindset, this sort of recurring image in his head. Flashback of a trip with his father, walking down a railroad, and there's this fork in the road, one leads to Yamato and one leads nowhere, to an abandoned rail station. And it's that sort of image in his mind that keeps him moving onwards, wanting to take the right path, not the wrong one. And so he goes to the O'Neill Motel, and he encounters Ume. And so before that, there's like a few little moments that it's like, it looks like Azuma is starting to awaken his Choujin powers. He has this conversation with a hyena, but he's not like actually transformed or anything. But he encounters Ume, and he tries to fight her. And if Ume were a human, were not a Choujin, he might have stood a decent chance against her. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and he sort of got his ass handed to him, thanks to the power of Paper Trip, which not at first just cuts off a single ear, and by the time the fight is over, has scattered Azuma into little tiny pieces. He's cut up. Tokyo's escaped, however, because Ricardo went down to check up on his partner. But yeah, Azuma's maybe dead? I don't know. It feels like there's too much like, we just started digging into him from just dive like that. But we open with two pure black empty pages. I'll admit, when I opened the website, and this was the first thing I saw, I thought it was a glitch. But it keeps showing up, so I think it's intentional. And then we really open, 2 pages later, we see this paper airplane, and then we sort of have this zoom in on the battlefield. We see this like statue that's got like some blood on it, Azuma's legs, and Ricardo's just making his way down. We see Azuma's severed arm, which is itself missing a pinky finger. Ricardo heads down, catches up to Ume, and then we see, this part of Azuma's body. And Ricardo can't even look. He's just like, it's too grisly for him. This is just too brutal. But Tokyo, meanwhile, we have our title, Chapter 20, Moon Beast, which we'll see what that's about later on, I bet. Maybe it's a second ability for Tokyo, maybe, like Paper Trip was? I don't know. But he's climbing down the balconies to get off the roof. Like quivering. He doesn't quite know what's happened to Azuma yet. Here I go. For real. Okay, here I go. Easy, easy, easy. Okay. Just like that. Easy now. He's trying to get his feet on the next ledge. I can't. I'm going to fall at this rate. And with that, he just falls. But he tries to grow wings. Ah! Wings! Wings fly! Grow wings! And I'm going to take this as foreshadowing that Azuma will revive himself, because Tokyo hits the ground, face first, and his eye pops out. Like, that is oddly brutal for what feels like cartoon violence. Okay. But he slowly picks himself up. We see his head is just, gone. Like, when he hit the ground, he just, lost his entire head. He thinks, whoa! And his head just pops out of his neck again. Wow. Being a Choujin is amazing. So, yeah, I'm going to say that's our proof that Azuma will live. But then Tokyo thinks, I could just go straight home. Now that... And then he, smells blood on the air. And we see the scent, reach his nose. Not sure where it's coming from. It started earlier. What was this again? And we have this little flashback of a very young Tokyo and his older sister. He seems to have fallen off a swing and skinned his knee or something. That scent. Oh, the smell of iron, which of course is going to lead him right to Azuma's quote-unquote corpse. And Ricardo, he's back with Ricardo and Ume. He's collected himself, just sort of getting down to business. Who do you do in? No idea. Some idiots. Yeah, they don't even fucking know who Azuma is. He just showed up and Ume murdered him. And Ricardo thinks, such a sour mood. Oh. And he notes her mask lying on the ground. Her mask. Ume has a short temper when she hasn't got one on. And we see all through this Ume is like covering her mouth with her hands to like hide her face. Which, given what we saw of her face last time, I can understand why she might want to hide that. And Ricardo just comments, kid just got a bad break. And like, I know I talk a lot about how Ricardo just seemed like this genuinely good guy who's also a kidnapper and probably also a murderer himself. But like, there's just something in the way that he's written that he's just so friendly. You know, he's apologetic for Azuma's death. Which it doesn't really like make it right. It doesn't make it better. His partner still murdered a teenager. But like, he's at least, he feels like a semi-decent guy. I not just because I like him, not because he's fun, but like he seems like there's like a genuine decent core to him. I think it's important that 18's they're bad guys, aren't they line was about Ricardo. It wasn't about Ume, who sort of is more than willing to rip a man to shreds. It's about Ricardo. But either way, Ricardo pulls out a mask. Sorry, I only have a white one. I'll find a shovel. And we see Tokio, who is behind the corner. He does not know who's cut up. But he like covers his nose. That smell. And he sees Ume and Ricardo. It's that woman and the octopus guy from earlier. And he peeks behind. Huh? And he sees the legs. Azuma's severed legs. His torso is in silhouette, so we can't quite tell who that is right now. What's that? But he still realizes that's a cut-in-half corpse in front of him. And he keels over, like, holding back vomit. No, it can't. And then there's this image? Oh, I think maybe that's meant to be Azuma. It's not. It doesn't look like him, right? Yeah, he's starting to get the idea of who that is. He knows. Whatever's about to happen. I'm gonna read the little push notification that Shonen Jump sent to my phone. A vicious act drives Tokyo over the edge is the actual line there. So like, it's fair to say what's about to happen. I'd argue that much. But we see this hand, a silhouetted hand, and the words Tokyo on either side of the hand, and something about the way those like little squigglies coming together. It looks like a face, like a tiger or a cat or something. I don't know. But he's just trying to deny what he already knows in his heart is true. I'll go home. There's this image of a pair of handcuffs. I'll go home. And he looks over, and yeah. That is Azuma's torso in kind of the grisliest amount of detail we've seen it. It's like the sunken eyes, the stump, this other stump, and that I don't think I've ever seen anyone successfully mimic. There's a specific type of camera trick in film. I forget what it's called because I was not a film major, I was a theater major. But it's the one where like the camera physically zooms out, like you push the camera out while the camera itself zooms in. And I've never seen that successfully replicated in a comic format, but that's it right there. That's what he's doing. And he just screams, ah! And Ume, that was not the scream he's doing, but I live in an apartment complex. I'm not going to wake everyone up. But Ume looks over and comments, Ricardo, looks like the beast is loose. But Tokyo is just like, it's very, you know, the sheer ferocity at play here, especially because I saw the next page, before the page here where Tokyo just grabs Ume. Ume is stunned at how fast he's moving. Ricardo can only ask, you say something? As we see Tokyo, as he growls, the vulture mask comes over. He's just full-on monster. It's reminiscent, to me at least, of Kaneki's Kakaja form back in Ghoul. But just that push, that grab and push, we see he like slams her into the wall, and there's just this explosion. Ricardo's like, what? And there's this a crash sound effect as Ricardo calls Ume, and then another, like, pushed through another wall. And then there's this shot, like, zooming up through this complex or something as we see the moon. And, oh, okay, so Tokio at some point, instead of moving sideways, started moving up. And at this point, he's grabbed her, like, grappling her in the, like, in front of the moon. And the interesting thing is, when you see that moon on page 20, that is distinctly a crescent moon. And either they're so high up that that little bit of moon, that the bit of the moon we see there is still a crescent, or like they're in space, like at a closer angle to the light side of the moon or something. Because, I don't know, either way, it really sets up the power of Tokio right here. And the way his face, you know, the earlier, back on page 16, or page 18, was just like, looks sort of Kakaja-like, especially with the way the sort of beak comes out, is reminiscent of Tokio, of Kaneki's, like, was it the centipede form it was called? But that, on 22, in front of the moon, that's just like a mask of shadows. That's just creepy as fuck. And he just calls out, why? Why? And he gets these, like, he, like, holds out his fist, and these, like, shards come out, and he slams them into Ume, and Ume just comments, he's been overcome with confusion. And she's still dodging pretty well. She's not really scared here. At this rate, he'll enter a chaos state. Yeah, that could happen, given these heightened emotions. And then he gets a good kick on her, and not even Paper Trip really stops it, because we see, like, the blood out the other side of Tokio's kick. Actually, he kicks through her. He kicks through her gut. Paper Trip does end up saving her, though, because as Paper, she's not really bleeding anymore. Damn it! Paper Trip! And as she snaps, we see the you know, wave of paper cutting through Tokio. Little, like, shards. You know, we see little pieces of Ume, like an eye here, an eye there, an ear over there. But Tokio has defended it. He's gained these sort of, she describes them as armor wings that protect him from the paper. And Ricardo calls out, Ume! And Ume calls down, he's unscathed. He has armor. You have, I think we're going to see Ricardo's Choujin powers here. You have trouble with armored Choujin. I've got you covered. And as he watches, he, like, sticks his fingers up to his face. And we get a title. Ricardo Terror. Okay. I thought his name was Teller this whole time, and I see the confusion there. You know, the LR blending together in Japanese. Is, like, Ricardo Terror just, like, a nickname, or is that meant to be his actual last name? I don't know. Ability... Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. That's just mean! Ability, Ricardo Terror Knight, Good Night Papa. I don't know, I might work that out later. I hate the form of that which you dread. Okay. Let's break down what the fuck that is. That's some... I mean, I've called him Cthulhu Man before, but that's some eldritch shit. Okay. So there's, like, corpses. I'm saving the head for last. The head is the important part here. The head is the form of that which you dread. There's, like, you know, screaming corpses that make up his lower body. There's some, like, insectoid eyes near the back. There's some men in jeans whose, like, upper halves are something. There's a mirror that shows Azuma, and the head is Azuma. Goddamn. Goddamn! Okay. The greater the fear, the more dreadful and powerful my form will be. And we see Tokio just sort of observing this as Ricardo's performance repeats Tokio, 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 Tokio. And then we see the screaming Azuma head. Rah! And we have this quote of Ricardo's. Some people get so spooked they quote from the shock. It's written this fancy quotes, but it's just him being casual. And that's really all that happens. It terrifies or just traumatizes Tokio so much. He's knocked out of it and just passes out. God, I'm just lingering on that fucking form. It's so fucked up. That's just fucked up. But Ricardo comes back to normal. He's back to himself. He apologizes even. I'm sorry. We'd have a problem if you couldn't change back. And there's a weird thing with the way his lines are written here. It does changing like that does something to his voice or something. I don't know. But Tokio is out of his moon beast, I guess we'll call it, form. And is just a normal guy again, but unconscious because, he just saw hell. And then Ricardo turns to Ume. Also, he seems to have more tentacles now than he had a minute ago. Sorry, Ume. But Ume tells him we almost lost our payout. Oh, because that would have killed him. Or could have killed him, and then they'd be shit out of luck. But then, a helpful gust of smoke arrives. Shocking both of them. And Ricardo jumps out of it, still with the 2 extra tentacles. Because he's been hit in the ass. My butt! And we see Ellie's arrived to protect Tokio. And Ellie just thinks, sorry, Kagamura. Sorry, Tokio. She's abandoning orders. Things have advanced further. And Ume's fully focused. You again. And Ricardo is still sort of having a panic over there. Ume, check out my butt for me. My butt! And Ume just ignores him, and Ricardo eventually turns around. You just never. It is really funny, as fucking horrific as Ricardo's abilities are, he's still just so charming. I love him. Oh, hold on. What's that? Okay, so we have You Just Never, and he cuts off as Ume turns from looking at Ellie and looks up. And we see someone. I'm trying to describe them. They're shirtless. They've got these kind of gauntlets and a scarf that covers their entire head, just blowing in the wind. Chapter 20, Moon Beast, to be continued. Okay. God damn. So, in terms of actual plot progression, there's not that much going on here. If you were to break it all down in base plot brass tacks, Tokio finds out Azuma is dead, goes berserk. Ume can't really do anything to stop him, but Ricardo can. We learn about Ricardo's powers. Tokio's knocked out. Ellie joins the fight. Someone new shows up. That's the entire chapter. But, there's even less thematic meat to dig into than last week that sort of put aside all of the who decides justice themes of the rest of the series to really focus on Azuma. This cuts away from all of that and is just pure style. This chapter, if I were to describe this chapter in a single word, it's just style, to be quite frank. The sheer amount of artistry Ishida has on display. I mean, one of my big criticisms of Ghoul was how vague and hard to follow the fights were a lot of the time. Kagane were just something about the way that Ishida drew the Kagane that made fights hard to follow. And that is just not on display at all in Choujin. The sheer variety in Choujin powers lets Ishida just have a ball with all these fights. And it's fucking wild. I mean, we got the little camera trick down there that's just, like, the way it, like, zooms in on the sweat, the bulging eyes, like something out of a Tim Burton flick or something. Like, what's that movie I'm thinking of? With the bulging eyes, like a kid horror thing. I don't know what I'm thinking of. But, like, it's fucked up. That's just a damn fucked up image there. The fucking horror thing, right as Tokio is transforming when he grabs Ume, the, like, shadow mask and the moon part, everything with Ricardo. Every single fucking thing with Ricardo's ability. Holy shit. Ricardo's ability. God damn. Like, it's just stylish. It's just, it's so into this sort of, like, this horror style, and it works so fucking well. That's an image that'll be in my fucking nightmares tonight. Like, god damn. There's just so much. Like, it's hard to even, like, pick things apart as, like, a reviewer. It's just a sensation washing over me, and I'm just in awe. Good lord. Like, the sheer detail on display with the Terror Knight ability. I just can't stop looking at it. Also, is it sort of like the Terror Knight thing gives him permanently, like, more tentacles, maybe? Because, like, afterwards he has, I think he might have 4 extra tentacles. There's the 2 on his head, but he normally had 4 down below, and that was it. And then when we have this shot of him as he's, like, transforming back, there's 2 here and 2 here. And then this later one, when his ass is on fire, it looks like there's, like, 7 tentacles instead of 6? I don't know. But that's not the important thing. Either way, after all of that Jesus fucking Christ horror imagery, Ellie shows up. She's unable to stand back and watch anymore. She's gonna, defy Yamato Mori, which, if I weren't so hung up on everything else going on in this chapter, I might be more looking at Ellie prizing her friend over the rules. But I still can't get past fucking Terror Knight. Good lord fucking Terror Knight. I don't know. And I have no idea who Scarf Boy is. Not a fucking clue. Not a fucking clue who Scarf Boy is. He's someone, I bet. I don't know who. But god, Terror Knight. Everything is blocked out by Terror Knight. Like, that's the thumbnail right there. Sorry for anyone who stumbles on that fucking image. But I can't make it anything else. I mean, I'm excited to see where everything happens from here with Ellie getting involved and this Scarf guy, and who knows what else will end up happening here. It's wild shit. But, like, I can't focus on that. No, but this fucking thing right there. Good lord. Good lord, Ishida. Okay. Alright. That's it. That's all I got. Incredible chapter. I don't think it's quite, in terms of, like, a narrative standpoint, I don't like this chapter as much as I liked, the entire Sinker arc or anything. But in terms of pure style, in terms of pure artistry, this is top tier. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!